Merry Christmas! It's the Christmasing 2, day 2. I should do it the regular way because when I do it this way, it looks like I'm doing the English up yours. So it is for you. You think it gets the Christmas 2 up yours.
Fuck you, Christmas.
So we watched Christmas in Tattertown, which I have to confess it wasn't one of the ones that I had on VHS. I only remember seeing it once, probably the year that it aired in 1988. So you can tear it to pieces because I have no feelings about it. Okay, so it's 2018, so it's literally been 30 years since I've seen it.
This one, okay, it's Ralph Bakshi. It's 1988. I got the feeling that Ralph Bakshi got tired of doing the sort of more mainstream things he was doing in the 80s and was just doing a throwback to his Fritz the Cat. No, it was
When did Cool World came out? Was that 91, 92?
Yeah, something like that. And Wizards and stuff, because, okay, it's done in a very, very 1930s style. There's a lot of referencing to 30s things. I mean, Keith David is wandering around being a sentient saxophone.
With an unfortunate character design.
Yeah, it looks like it's got a really big erect vagina. It's fascinating.
Because you know how a saxophone would be,
but I got the feeling that Bakshi, he's bursting out after having to do the family-friendly stuff for ages, and so he's just, gone a bit nuts.
There was a lot of panty shots.
A hell of a lot.
Aye. And I got the feeling, because there's very little narrative structure in this, I kind of got the feeling that this had been meant to be maybe an hour or 90 minutes long, and then they were like, look, you get about a half an hour with 2 commercial breaks, and that's it.
Yeah, it was incoherent.
Because there were, parts where people were like, hey, what are you doing? And I get the feeling that they were involved in a scene, because otherwise there's just no point to a lot of it.
You have no idea about what's going on a lot of the time. And there's just, things happen, it makes, narratively, it makes as much sense as the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer short film.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
No, that doesn't. No, they're suddenly in a toy island. It makes Jesus
the
Christ.
Island Lost Toys. Misfit Toys.
Yeah, trust me. That was when we did the Christmas thing a couple of years ago. That's the only time I've ever seen that. And trust me, it doesn't make sense. You just grew up with it, so you assume it does. You got meaning through osmosis. It doesn't make sense.
Sometimes. Hey, you know what? We learned when I was little that sometimes things don't always go right in the manufacturing process, and you either end up on the Isle of Misfit Toys or you're fucking Super Ted.
Although that does fit with the main message of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, in which case divergence from the mainstream is only to be tolerated if you can increase the power, the
profits. I've seen 2 different people tweet something like that in the last week.
If you can make things more efficient for the ruling class, then therefore difference will be accepted. If it's not, you will be sort of got rid of. It'll be insulted. You'll be ostracized.
So vote Labour.
So that I suppose thematically does work. It still doesn't make a fucking bit of sense.
Well, the concept of toys having a place or condition where they can be sentient, that's pretty old. That's Velveteen Rabbit, Raggedy Ann. That's pretty old. That goes back to the Victorian era of children's literature.
I would not be surprised if it's older than that.
Aye. But I'm saying at least as far as literature is concerned.
In Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer's storyline, because that's not in the fucking song.
I'm going somewhere else with that. But and the idea of there is a secret world or a secret place where you can go to where, you as a human being, your role is no longer what it was, you're not the master. So I felt like there was a lot of stuff narratively that could have been capitalized on, but characters blow in and out, we're supposed to know who they are, we're supposed to...
Oh, you're talking about this one again?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So the whole concept isn't that old. I mean, when was the book that, not Brer Rabbit, Roger Rabbit, when was that the one the movie was based on, when was that written?
That I don't know.
It was mid-80s, wasn't it?
That I have no idea, but the film came out in the mid-80s, so it's got to be before that.
Aye. So then that whole idea of this is a town where, you human do not live by rules like Toontown.
Although, I don't know if it's in the book, but in the film, the Toons are obviously a metaphor for black people.
Yeah.
Because black people in Hollywood being able to perform and having their own ghettoed area, but not being equal citizens. You know that? Oh, SJW is putting their politics on our Roger Rabbit.
There was surprisingly not that much racism.
And this, yeah, it was like they
even though it was supposed to be mimicking the 1930s.
Yeah, the leftover 1930s racist stuff in this was the incredibly low level stuff that you wouldn't actually pick up unless you knew some academic stuff.
So it wasn't exactly like the character out of Tom and Jerry.
Like almost all the characters having white gloves, which is minstrel imagery. But that's the sort of thing you need to know it's minstrel imagery before you even realize it's got racial connotations. So considering it's Bakshi, I'm actually surprised about that it was a little racism because he was a little bit of an edgelord back in the day.
A fan of a bit more racist. Well, there was
no. He was just I wouldn't say he was racist. He was a bit of an edgelord. He liked throwing shit into his things.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, there was a character because there was a pine tree, a potted pine tree, who ran a bookshop whose name was Tannenbaum, obviously. Tannenbaum is the German word for Christmas tree, or probably pine tree or something like that.
I have
Some
no
kind of
idea.
tree. But his name was Tannenbaum. He had a very thick German accent, and he used Yiddish words, so he was quite obviously a Jewish stereotype. We were like, oh.
And he's selling books, which means he's selling up pieces of his cut up and sort of murdered compatriot,
Is there like a
fellows.
Holocaust thing going on there? You said he was an edgelord, so.
Could he be? What was the names of the Jews in the Holocaust who were slightly above the other ones? Capos.
Yeah.
That words. So maybe he was a capo. I don't know.
That's going a bit deep, though.
The capos all got killed anyway because fuck those guys.
And there was a lot of weird references that so you know how there will be kid stuff and there'll be references that go right over the child's head because they're meant for the adults. That I think it was the first or second Pokemon movie I took my wee cousin to go see. And I think I might have mentioned this on one of our podcasts before, but there's a part where there's a panning shot of a crowd at like a party for Pokemon trainers. You're hearing snatches of dialogue, snatches of people's conversations. Well, I told the gym leader. Oh, I think that my grass type and stuff like that. And then you hear one woman go, "Well, I heard she has crabbies." And me, and then there was a couple that had taken their wee child. They were sitting next to us, and we're like, can't look at the child. The last cry is funny. But so there's stuff that will always be aimed for the parents, but there was a reference to the New Deal from the 1930s.
I think we're not sure
because it said 1935 on it. I think that it is because I don't think the NRA was called the NRA until the 70s.
The other NRA might have existed there. I don't know. We don't know enough, so it could be either.
But so here's the thing. So this aired in the 80s. I was 8 the year that it aired because I'm old. But so my parents were the boomer generation. So they would have been too young to understand a reference from the 30s. So that's got to be going for, I guess, the grandparents, the boomers. Like my grandmother, she was born in 1921, so she remembered the Great Depression, but
just so you guys have the information, what we saw was a book from 1935.
Sorry, I never like
which had the word NRA on the cover,
and like an American shield kind of thing. And I would automatically thought of the NRA because that's
it was full of sort of 1935 references, and
they came out and danced actually.
Yeah, so you were all like, it's the NRA, National Rifle Association. I was like, I remember back in the old days in secondary school, I studied the Great Depression, and the NRA. FDR set up an organization called the National Recovery something, which was called the NRA, and that was the first NRA I
for
heard
non-Americans,
of.
FDR pretty much created every acronym ever, because that's why I'm pretty sure I failed the exam on the New Deal when I was in high school because I just couldn't fucking keep them straight and didn't care. So
FDR probably
should be. My history teacher was a bitch. I hate him.
He should probably be on Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, he did a lot. But so the vague framing device for this is that there's a wee girl and her wee dolly and her little stuffed doggy, and they fall into a book which is Tattertown, and the dolly gains agency and realizes that
she... 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah, she does. She's a 5 o'clock shadow. So I'm like, is this kind of like one of the things where, what was the baby from...
Pee Wee Herman.
No. The baby from Roger Rabbit.
Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, was his name?
No, Baby Herman.
Yeah.
Pee Wee Herman's the...
I was like, wait a second, no, couldn't have been.
Pee Wee Herman's the other
real
thing.
Pee Wee Herman would have
Baby
sued.
Herman.
So was it kind of thing where how back in the 20s and 30s, all babies were dressed in what would now be called seen as stereotypical female clothing.
Yeah,
even if they were wee boys. There's a picture of Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, in a dress. Curly wig.
Yeah, because it was... I believe it was a medieval European bit of folk superstition that if that little boys would be stolen by something supernatural, and so boys were dressed as girls and referred to as she, usually by a girl's name, until they were like age of 6 or something.
And then they got.
And then the tradition just they continue. Yeah, they were breached, and that's
so unfortunate.
I know, but then
so English.
The superstition was dropped, but the tradition stayed for a couple more generations.
Yeah. Or like how, like, you know, you'll see like pictures of like wee babies from back in the day, and regardless of gender, they have like a little bonnet. Yeah. So he might have been going back for something like Muffet didn't want to identify as Muffet, you know, because
but didn't actually do that at all.
Because that's the first thing I noticed is that Muffet has a 5 o'clock shadow, and then speaks with a stereotypical like, "Hey, you was mugs," kind of like caricatured like
Elmira,
New York.
Elmira from Tiny Toon.
Yeah, but like she was escaping Elmira from Tiny Toon Adventures.
Yeah, but her character, the design and the way she speaks,
like even like the 2 front teeth, like that.
Very similar.
It really did. The animation style reminded me a lot of Tiny Toons, but yeah. So then she gains her own agency and doesn't want to be enslaved to the wee girl anymore, and so then runs off and like recruits a spider with 6 legs. We figure he lost 2 in the war, and then they go to the dead zone.
Not sure which war because we're not sure when it's set.
And we're all like the technology toys and the war toys hang out, and they start to recruit an army.
It's an apartheid system with all the stuff to do with technology is separate from everything else.
But it's not even very good technology because it's all 1930s technology. Like there's a phone with like one of the old like, "Hello, how are you? Yes, okay, I'm here. Okay, bye." Kind of like. That's my newsreel voice. The
reason I keep looking over there is because it's still on screen and I'm still trying to make sense of what the fuck's going on in that thing.
Yeah, so then the wee girl, like, I guess she just gives up on, like, colonial oppression of her dolly, and then gets reminded that Christmas is a thing, and then so she and a little teeny teddy bear, whose name is Harvey, who, like I say, I'm sure had a lot bigger role in the original script, because we're, like, introduced, like, we're supposed to know who he is, and she knows who he is.
Yeah.
So it's never really established how long she sits around in Tattertown before creating Christmas.
And there's like a pillowcase dog for some reason.
Who kind of talks like Scooby-Doo if Scooby-Doo was having a heart attack. Because it's like this kind of like inhale-ish kind of voice, but like also with the speech impediments of Scooby-Doo is quite upsetting actually. So then...
not a fan.
Not Muffet and the war toys they dress up as Santa Claus, and she dresses up as Santa Claus.
She also does a big Patton reference for some reason.
And then like dresses up the spider like a ranger. So this kind of almost, it did remind me a lot of the scene from the classic where How the Grinch Stole Christmas, where he rides off the mountain.
And they got a bunch of like, you know, planes and all fall of them going to bomb everything for some reason. And the planes reminded me...
There's no real reason... Well, she wants to stop Christmas from happening because apparently Christmas was the instance of her initial trauma when she was given as a dolly to this wee girl. So she's like, oh no, Christmas means being hugged and squeezed and pulled around. So coming from the point of I have agency and I refuse to be sexually assaulted, basically, by you without my consent.
What?
Well, because, like, if she's being hugged and touched, not you personally, I mean, the human...
Well, I'm glad you established that.
You're not sexually assaulting me. No, but, like, you know, so basically she's saying, look, I don't consent to being hugged and squeezed and made to dress up and stuff like that, so I have agency now. I'm going to prevent the instance of my re-traumatization. That makes kind of sense. Would you stop that?
I'm going to make sure my hands are...
Oh, for Christ's sake. But anyway,
Oh, no! Now they're imagining things!
We're married, it's okay. But anyway, so Santa Claus swoops by and then goes away, and then the dolly falls into the jail building, which eats her, but Santa Claus gives her presents anyway, and then everyone's like, yay, Christmas! And then
her planes that she has, they remind me of the designs of...
the bullets from
a little bit. Rabbit. I'm thinking the things from Budgie the Little Helicopter, which was written by Fergie, the former princess, and the thing. She wrote these children's books.
I had no idea.
Budgie the Little Helicopter, but there were like planes in that. Unless I'm thinking of something completely different, which I might be.
But then, so everyone's like, "Yay, Christmas! This is fantastic!" And she's like, "No, you're doing it wrong." And then she goes and finds an old gramophone and puts on like what sounded like a very ancient Bing Crosby recording of White Christmas, and everyone starts crying. And actually, people cry at the drop of a hat in Tattertown. I said I'm going to say it in the vlog, and if you're a fan, you will understand exactly what I'm coming for. More cartoon characters cried in this 25-minute short.
So the entire of Spider-Man 3.
No. Than an entire season of Steven Universe. Like, these cartoons just burst into tears at the drop of a hat. And so everyone cries. And
yeah, I even had to ask if White Christmas is meant to be a sad song, because, like, I know of the existence of the song. I don't give a fuck about Christmas. I'm just like...
I guess it could be sad because it evokes nostalgia. Like,
they don't have nostalgia
exactly,
for that.
because they don't have any contextual information on Christmas. They have no experience. It's not their lived experience.
If they're going for emotions and stuff like that, they should have gone for a recording of Silent Night. You know,
yeah, but they don't
an
know.
Instrumental version.
They don't know the lore.
Because then they're all like, "Oh, it's beautiful music and it's making them cry."
No, you know what she should have had, although it wouldn't have been invented yet. Christmas Eve Sarajevo from the Trans-Siberian Orchestra with all the guitar. I love that. It's one of my favorites.
Redo that and replace the music.
I should. But
I'll replace it with "Oh Come All Ye Faithful" by Twisted Sister.
But yeah, so then it just ends. So I guess she's stuck in Tattertown forever. She'll never go back to the human world.
Good, that freakish dumb child.
She is. Like, her proportions are really weird because she's super tall, so she's kind of looks like
olive oil.
Yeah, she's meant to be like an olive oil design, but like her face is strangely expressive, and like most of the context that I have for Ralph Bakshi is Cool World. And so, like...
Cool World he didn't want to do.
Yeah.
There's a really weird backstory to Cool World where he'd come up with this concept and everything and he was going to be doing it, but at nearly the last minute, someone else involved in production who outranked him basically changed the script, gave him a different script, and he was forced to do this different script that he didn't want to do, which, it's like, that's really weird. But that sort of thing happened, and something like that happened.
She's just like, and she's dressed like a child from the 30s, but she's obviously not. It's so confusing, and then it just ends. Although we did get to network idents. You're watching Christmas in Tattertown on Nickelodeon. We'll be right back.
You'll never watch it again because this will never be repeated because this is shit.
I'm pretty sure it only aired the one time. Like, I as we were watching this, I have a vague memory of getting in a fight with my sister over this because I wanted to change the channel.
Good. Well,
she's like, "No, I'm watching this!" And I'm like, "This is rubbish."
Therefore showing that even at a young age your taste was discerning.
Yeah.
Except when you disagree with me.
No. So this has been Christmasing 2, the second night. So you can go ahead, if you're playing along at home, open up your second night advent calendar. You
know, the official Omega advent calendar that doesn't exist. Unless you've made one, and if you
have,
No,
that's fine. So, no, basically just put aside 12 shots. And then go on, take your second shot. You can have your third one tomorrow night, and there you go.
And take a photo and send it to us if you did actually make an Omega Geek themed advent calendar.
With shots inside. Every year I say I'm going to get one of those ones that's like the whiskey one or like the wine one, even though it's like quite expensive and like
I have to have the wine because I keep whining.
Yeah, you would. No, but Jack Daniels was releasing one that was like 60 quid. And it was all sorts of their different flavors. And they're selling it through... I want to say it was Asda. I'm pretty sure it was Asda. And then she was like, "Oh, go on, get it. It's a treat. Treat yourself." I said, "No, for 60 quid." Like, and I
can
worked
treat myself a lot more.
Yeah, I worked out how much you get in each of the wee bottles. I said, for 60 quid worth of whiskey, I could buy like a shit ton. I mean, I could buy 2 of the really big, like, 1.5-liter Jack Daniel bottles.
I'll just have a shot of that each night, you know, for 3 months.
Jack Daniels is okay, but it's really, really, really expensive here, so I don't bother. Like, you could get, like, authentic, like, Irish whiskey, like, brewed in the north, like, for a lot cheaper than importing Jack Daniels, so.
Yeah, what do you call it? Bushmills, the town Bushmills, where the whiskey's from, is literally about 10 miles down the road from us.
Just get it at Tesco. And there's that one, the Coleraine one. It's actually brewed in Coleraine.
And there's the dairy one, Quiet Man.
But that's, like, all dear now, because I saw it at Sainsbury's, and it was, like, 30 quid, and I was like, I'm not paying that much.
Or you could just get Strongbow and be like, it's imported, it's from the UK.
Guys, I tell you what, the first time I went to Tesco and I saw, like, Strongbow cider in, like, a plastic 2-liter bottle, like it was soda, I was like, look at that, oh my god. And then I found out that Strongbow is kind of just like, how'd you call it, baby's first Aquapop?
Yeah, basically.
It's like what teenagers drink on the weekends. And
it's like Pabst Blue Ribbon.
No, because that's all popular now because of hipsters.
Is it?
Aye.
Okay.
It's like,
Pabst Blue Ribbon several years ago.
Like Bud Light or something like that.
It's just, yeah, so when she was like, oh, my friends thought it was really cool because it was imported, ha.
No, I do have at
Friends
least two friends. Okay, I'm not friends with the one anymore, but like, who, you know, were like, oh, I drink cider, but I only like Strongbow. It's imported, you know, it's from the United Kingdom. I drink Magner, so I'm gonna drink cider, but I don't usually drink cider because it's got a lot of sugar in it.
Anyway.
So that's been the Christmasing night 2. What will be tomorrow? What do you hold? What does future hold in store for you?
That I die before night 3.
No. Oh, Christmas.
Ow.